post-lunch session, so I request you all to settle down and please keep your phones on silent mode or on vibration mode. Thank you so much. Welcome back, everyone. I hope you had a wonderful lunch. How's the Josh now? Actually, खाना खाने के बाद में सब लोग थोड़ा सा लो जाते हैं, तो इसलिए पूछा मैंने. Thank you so much. So, for decades, India was a defense importer. Today, we are becoming an exporter. From missiles to radars, from artillery to drones, Indian defense products are now serving armies across the globe. But scaling exports requires more than capabilities. It requires policy reforms, strategic partnerships, and global credibility. Chairing this pivotal discussion is Major General Dr. Pavan Anand. He is a highly decorated officer from the Corps of Engineers and a recipient of the President's Gold Medal. He currently serves as the director of the USI Center for Emerging Technologies for Atmanirbhar Bharat with a PhD focused on indigenizing India's defense industry. He is a recognized expert in cybersecurity and geostrategy. He has held senior international procurement roles and is a PhD guide at the University of Madras. He is the recipient of Ati Vishishta Seva Medal for his dedicated service. Ladies and gentlemen, Major General Dr. Pavan Anand. Joining him in the discussion is Lieutenant General Sanjay Mishra. Lieutenant General Sanjay Verma has served 4 decades in the Indian Army, holding senior leadership roles across operations, human resources, finance, logistics, equipment management, and defense acquisitions. A graduate of the National Defense Academy and Indian Military Academy, he has served in high-altitude areas, deserts, and counterinsurgency operations in India and abroad. He is superannuated as Director General Capability Development, Indian Army, leading major acquisition and procurement initiatives involving Indian and global industries, R&Ds, quality assurance, and national and international agencies. He brings deep insight into apex decision-making, government processes, and national strategy. A combat. Well, I would like to add one line with this. He has been awarded the Param Vishishta Seva Medal, Ati Vishishta Seva Medal, Vishishta Seva Medal with Bar, and the Institution of Engineers, Eminent Engineers Award. And we also have Air Commodore R.N. Gaikwad. He is a distinguished fighter pilot with over 30 years of experience in the Indian Air Force, a qualified flying instructor and fighter strike leader. He logged over 2,500 accident-free flying hours. His leadership insights include commanding a MiG-27 squadron and directing the MiG-27 UPG modernization program. At Southwestern Air Command, he orchestrated large-scale multi-domain exercises like X-Desert Strike. He is also recognized for his precision in leading the 2005 Gujarat flood relief operations. For his exceptional service, he was awarded the Ati Vishishta Seva Medal and the Vishishta Seva Medal by the President of India. Gentlemen, chart the path from indigenous production to global export leadership. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put your hands together for these gentlemen and let's begin this wonderful panel discussion.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good to see a few people back after lunch. Level of motivation is very visible. Thank you so much for being here. We are all aware that over the last couple of days, we've been talking about how India is turning into a defense manufacturing hub. And today, we know that the conversation that used to be dominated by the word import today is getting dominated by the word export as well. And so I'm privy to the fact that there are orders from the top, literally as orders, where KRAs have been fixed for a number of agencies to ensure that India's export quantum goes up. And a number of discussions are taking place with various agencies at the apex level to make sure that we are policy-wise not only aligned, but it also gets translated down to the industry level as well. And herein lies an opportunity not only for the PSUs, but also for private industry. Today, fundamentally, our script has got rewritten, as we may say, where in Atmanirbharta we shall make for the world. It's not just make in India, but also make for the world. So we not only secure our own borders, but we make security partners as well in this, as we evolve from, hopefully, from a regional power to a global security provider, or at least a provider of stability. As far as strategic diplomacy is concerned, this becomes a vital tool as well, and we had a session on this yesterday in which we had the First Secretary from Denmark as well as the Ambassador from Ambassador Shaw, who had joined General Dhingra and me on the subject. India is definitely now offering to be a credible alternative to a number of nations, and we are taking away the baggage of restrictive geopolitical strings which many attach to the exports that they come out with. In fact, India, it would be a friendly and a more reliable provider of defense hardware. That's what we present ourselves as. What is also unique about India? And let me break it into maybe 2 or 3 small parts. And why is the world looking towards us as a critical security need provider? I think the first thing is that we have value-driven innovation in our country, a huge amount of talent and a fair amount of capital being driven into it. Therefore, we are proving to the world that cutting-edge technology need not be prohibitively expensive. Secondly, in recent times, and especially during Op Sindoor, we have also brought out how our equipment is battle-tested, battle-proven. And whether we chest thump a bit too much once in a while, no harm done as long as we are on the right path. Also, we have been able to utilize or field weapon systems which can be used across different types of terrain and different extreme kinds of weather, which is unique to the Indian context. The third issue is the resilience that we bring to our exports. We don't just export machines, we export a whole service system with that, and we also give resilience assurances along with that. The velocity of this transformation from an importer to an exporter has been rather fast. Not fast enough for many of us, but fast as far as the global movements would show. Today, we have touched record-breaking, and it was mentioned yesterday, 23,622 crores of exports. This is a 34-fold increase in defense exports. The numbers may not have been very large earlier. Very fact that we've broken into this club is what really matters. Therefore, when we call India a hub, which would be defined by just sales, let us also define it with integration. And we would integrate ourselves with the countries that we export to. At the same time, we integrate ourselves where we are providing components and assemblies now to the bigger powers for high-tech weapon systems. We have already been providing Indian-made subsystems and advanced platforms to the US and France as well. So that brings me to the final point that I wanted to make, and that is there is an act of mutuality which we have brought into this, which most countries have not. The success clearly is the result of a whole nation effort that has been put in, reasonably visionary policies, agility in the industry, and research-led innovation. So while we do flagellate ourselves at times to say that we haven't moved fast enough, let us also remember that we are moving steadily enough. The heartbeat of our hub is actually 16,000 MSMEs and surging number of startups in this field which have really taken us forward. The defense industrial corridors, in whatever way they came together earlier, have begun to deliver results, both in the north and the south. and they have attracted approximately 9,000 to 10,000 crore worth of actual investments. Clearly, by 2029, and I did mention this yesterday, we should be doubling our exports to 50,000 crores as annual exports. I also want to emphasize an aspect that relates to MRO, maintenance, repair, and overhaul organizations. That should take care of the entire life cycle of our equipment. And when we provide our equipment, we should be able to provide the entire MRO hub as well. And therefore, as the Tejas LCA gets ready for exports and the advanced light helicopter gets over those glitches and becomes really an exported machine, we should be able to provide the MRO organizations as well. So make India, make for the world. That's what our slogan is. So like yesterday, I am going to request my two very respected and also very experienced panelists to give a few opening remarks. I'll throw a couple of questions at them, and then I'll open it out to you to throw questions at them. These are the people you really have to extract ideas out of or throw your ideas at so that they can take it to the right place. So I do encourage you to interact with them. The total time we have is about 25 minutes, so we'll make it sharpish. I request you, General Verma, to kindly give out your opening remarks.
Want me to speak from here? I think that should be comfortable.
Wherever you're comfortable.
Yeah, absolutely. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My sincere thanks to Air Marshal Dharkar, General Dhingra, Admiral Gupta for giving me the opportunity to be here. And yes, I know it's a post-lunch session, a difficult session, but I think the topic is very topical, very relevant. And to start with, let me tell you that I endorse everything what General Pawan has said. I mean, no issues at all. And let's also not, undermine the importance and criticality that we have to get into scaling and giving a faster trajectory to exports. There is no way about it. So the intent, the policy, the drivers which are sick, that is the intent and policy, the push given by the government. I mean, I remember that when I got commissioned, talking about defense exports was something like it was an anathema. I mean, are you going to export arms to the globe? No, no, not all. But today, the narrative has changed, and I think he gave the right justification of the change narrative that our friendly foreign countries, our global partners, we would like to make them more strong, and definitely will become partners in that sense. But more than that, it is very critical for the defense industry or the ecosystem which we are nourishing now, that if it has to flourish, there's no other way than opening up exports. Having been 4 to 5 years as the Director General of the Capability Development, this question was asked to me a number of times that, sir, I did so much of work and then got an order, and after this, what do I do now? No, I don't have an answer for that. The Indian Army or Indian Navy or Indian Air Force are not your permanent clients. You have to look beyond. You have to diversify. And then only you will be able to become a player on the global supply chain. That is how it happens. So how is it now panning out? The trajectory or the dynamics which he gave was very relevant, that over the past decade we have seen the statistics speaking for themselves, and we are targeting 3,000 crores by 2029. Fine, that will happen. How is the export structure working in our country? Predominantly private and also partly DPSUs. I think it's about 15,000 crores and 8,000 crores if I remember the figures correctly. But like I said, let's not get into the figures. Also, please remember that there is a component of the offsets which is going for exports. So that is generally about 10 to 20%. In the sense, all the imports which you have done and given an offset obligation, so from that, you are now giving it back to the same organization from where you are importing. So that is also one of the components. So it's a private structure, private sector, DPSUs, and something going from the offset component. What is our export basket? The export basket is diversifying from components, sub-assemblies, fuselage, mainly of aerospace. We are also going into platforms. I think Tata is opening up a plant in Morocco is a very, very positive sign that yes, we are establishing a manufacturing capability. The ATAGs to the Armenia, to BrahMos, to many other Akash system. So the basket is quite spread out. But please, we have to remember it here that whom we are exporting, again, what is the capacity or what is the potential that he'll keep giving us repeat orders? So this is something, again, the industry will have to keep it in mind. Then we come to the geographical market as it exists. Whom all can we export to? So fine, we have some South African countries, Latin America, the Southeast Asia, Global South. I would like to point out here that there's another market which is opening up and is going to be a very potential lucrative export destination. If all of you must have seen the EU Readiness Plan 2030 and the way they have pledged 5% of their GDP to go into the building up of the defense. Now, the average spending in EU is about 1.5 to 2% at the max. Now, if they have to scale up another 3%, it is, in fact, I have the figures, but I'll not quote them. It is in trillions of dollars. And how much is the timeline? Timeline is 2030. So much money available, time is short. Where do they ramp up the capacity? As it is, we know that the European companies are up to their brim for orders. There is an opportunity for India to fill that, both in terms of platforms, more in terms of components and sub-assemblies. So that is another opportunity coming up. And then a little bit of I've spoken about the opportunities, a little bit of skepticism in the sense that, I mean, are we really there? We will have to look at the technology that we have. If we continue to be the biggest importer, if we continue to be dependent on assemblies, sub-assemblies of platforms which we are exporting. We are exporting a platform, but their components, major components, we are importing. That we'll have to be careful. We'll have to ramp that up. The second is, we need to build up our brand. Our equipment which we are exporting, our components which we are exporting have to be time tested. We should be very careful that they are of the best quality, because that is how reputations are made. Today, if we go to certain organizations or certain companies abroad for their brand value, the brand value has been built over a number of years. So that sort of a challenge is there in front of us, that we are into a global competition. We are technologically not there where we should be. We have to fill that. So what do we do for that? We have to ramp up the R&D. Whether it is a PSU, whether it is the private industry, we have to invest more and more into R&D to get products which can meet NATO requirements or which can meet any sort of requirements anywhere in the world. Then, like I said, that yes, we have to be very careful of the quality, certification, standards, and the last but not the least, which I would like to say right now, is that institutionally more has to be done to give that sort of a capacity to the private industry and the DPSUs to ramp up their financial stamina or the financial bandwidth to take on these exports. Because, as a number of you would be aware, that in all these exports, which figures we have, there is a lot of which is coming through the line of credit. So ready cash is not coming in. So that sort of a thing, the government will have to institutionally make it sure that the private players and the DPSUs get their money so that they don't feel the pinch. So I will stop here. There are certain more interesting points, but we'll take them on as we move around this session. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, General Verma. But let me just stay with you for a little longer, because what you said is just fresh in all our minds, and we shouldn't lose the thread that we've been thinking on. So I'll just throw in a couple of thoughts. Definitely, we are looking for exports, and Global South is a good option, and Africa is a good option. On the other hand, you did speak about the opportunities that are probably coming up in Europe. 860 billion going to the rearmament Europe plan, that is one. A huge amount of money going into sovereign digital infrastructure. The Germans have come up with their CRITIS, that is the critical infrastructure security certifications which have come in. The French are going for the sovereign cloud as well. So, I mean, there is a huge amount of opportunity. There is a huge amount of regulation and certifications and compliances which have also come in. So, while we talk about exporting towards Africa, it will require a different strategy. And when we talk about Europe, it will require a different strategy. I just want to ask you, how will you differentiate between these two export geographies? And also, how will the government really support an industry player? After all, industry will go and struggle to try and get orders anywhere. They'll do their bit. But what will the government do besides, we have an FTA now which has come up with EU, but how more can the government support in that? So with Europe and with Africa.
So I think a very interesting question which you have asked, because with respect to EU, let me tell you, in the past just about 6 months, as part of think tanks and as part of other initiatives, I've been to Rome and Berlin and now going to Amsterdam end of the month. And only for these dialogues as to how the European companies can partner with Indian companies. What are the challenges? The two main challenges which they look at is, one is, I mean, will we be able to meet their standards, the technical and the specifications? That is the first question which comes to them. And the second is, again, very important, and that fact is trust. What I mean by trust is that they know our alignment with the other global players in the world. So they have, and their threat, European threat, is also well known. So with European threat and our relations with Russia being so nice, they always have this sort of a thing that if you are going to give us some equipment, some technology, this trust factor always comes in the discussions with all three people whom I have discussed with. And in fact, just about 4 days back, I was with a few defense attaches over an informal talk. These were the issues which were again coming up. Yes. And the third is the type of equipment which we have to offer. Now that somehow they are still not clear. The type of equipment, and along with that is the decision making. They said if we talk about something, the decision to do that comes at a very, very late point. So the broad answer to your question is, at the institutional level or at the government level, we will have to get into what I call strategy for exports. We have to, at the national level, strategy. We have targets, but for that targets, we need a strategy. We have instruments that we have given export license very fast. We will help you talk to the people. We'll have the DA's conclave. We'll have these interaction active sessions. Those are instruments. The strategy overall is missing. What do I mean by strategy? So I look at the strategy, which are my potential countries where I will export. So we are looking at Africa, we are looking at Europe and other. Now for each, what is the type of equipment he is looking at and what we can give? So this has to match. The requirements of Africa in terms of equipment or the weapons is different than what is in Europe. So we'll have to do a matching. What does he need? What is his specification? What are his standards? So whether it is, so we'll have to segment those. And thereafter, what do we have to offer? And then build up instruments. Like I gave you the example of Morocco, Tata's going there. We have to build up, once we give them, we have to make MROs and supply chain resilient for them. We ourselves know that when we buy an equipment, we have to look back for replenishments. We have to look back for maintenance. But when we give something, we should make sure today it should come in that strategy. So our strategy, which country, what equipment, what specifications, and what are the instruments or the facilitation measures more to be taken by the government, both in terms of certification, testing, validation, and financing. So the approach will be different.
Absolutely. Also, I think, the main problem will be faced by the MSMEs. And they're the ones who would be able to really export much faster, will be more agile as compared to the larger industries. So maybe government will have to look at how these MSMEs can be supported in some way, and also how they can meet the compliances of the other side. And those discussions could take place G to G, whereas the MSMEs could then get supported by government. And there will be a mechanism which needs to be created, which cannot be just left to industry associations. So, let's go over to AVM Gaikwad. And I'm pretty sure he's going to come up with some very interesting inputs in his opening remarks. And I'll take the thread from there.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. आज का टॉपिक है Propelling India's Global Defense Exporter. Okay. Have you reached there? Which way? Looking at the figures? Statistics are very, I don't believe them, because you can change them, modify them, twist and turn them to suit your requirement. Okay, so facts are something else. Statistics can be used to counter or support the facts. You agree? If I export for any kind of, any amount of crores of rupees, I am exporting from India to other countries. At the end of it, if I have to import Rafales from somewhere else, this figure has got no meaning. You agree? How many people from industry here? Pure industry. Ki Fauji turned to industry. Okay, we are killing MSMEs and startups. It's a fact. Nobody can deny. Nobody will talk, but it's a fact. And bigger fishes are the one who are actually killing. Do you see any similarity between what we are talking about here and Infosys or IT industry? What is the similarity between these two industries? We are talking about the export, that is a commercial angle. We are not talking at all of the capability that we need to develop if we have to be self-reliant as far as the national security or the defense is concerned. We are nowhere, on no forum we are talking about the capability development. We are talking about export hub and so many other things, MRO hub and all. Dimag kisi aur ka hai, we are doing a service to them. It will not help us in the long run. Infosys is just providing manpower to people. If they were so great, we would have our own applications developed by Indians in India for Indians. We are just providing good manpower to them. Again, when we start exporting too much, we are just exporting things which somebody else wants. There is no capability being developed in the country which is going to actually support operations in India. When I say not much means it is less than 50%, okay? The exception will always be there. So what we need to understand is that while we have a roadmap for becoming a global export hub, do we have a vision or a plan to become a self-reliant country as far as the security is concerned? And that's what exactly matters at the end of it. We can keep exporting whatever we want, but if we have to import, we'll get stuck. Like, I'll take one example of 155 millimeters shells, global demand. Now there are very limited companies in India who are making it. There are so many stringent policies which do not allow the more number of people or players to come in. We don't realize that if I have a potential to manufacture in India, and right now since I do not have a domestic demand, I make my policies so clear and so simple that each industry in the country is able to make money by exporting. Tomorrow, if there is a war and we are unable to import from outside, then all the capabilities that we have developed in the country is available for us to exploit. Okay, in the Air Force, like all civil aircraft would be at the disposal of the Air Force in case there is a requirement during hostilities. So all these companies which are manufacturing weapons and exporting them will be serving our interests when the actual time comes for operations. Do you agree? So don't look at only the domestic market for survival, because OFBs and all other government organizations are the toughest competition for all the private industries. It's very difficult for you to survive. So government policies, by allowing the MSMEs or the Indian industry, private industries to export, not the government agencies, could be one of the reasons or one of the policy decisions that is taken. Like you serve the Indian market, the government organizations, and let the private people build the capability which is within the country, but surviving on the exports. I'll give an example. Okay, everything that I quote or I suggest, I will have a plan. It's not enough time over here to say, but suppose there is a small arms manufacturing company which wants to establish in India. Who's the client? Either the defense forces or the police forces. There's hardly any civil market for this. Unlike the American market where every household has got, X number of private weapons and they also consume ammunition. When we go for driving license, we have to give a test, right? In India, when you want to have a weapons license, there is no test. There is no skill test. Okay, even people who are impaired in their eyes also get a license. They don't even know how to load the weapons. They can't make a differentiate between a revolver and a pistol. Yet everyone got a license. What if a government makes a policy that every year you have to fire at least 10 rounds to keep your license current? Just imagine the number of demand for a particular caliber that will be generated within the country only. So some kind of a policies have to be evaluated or formulated to make sure that in direct as well as indirect way we support the industries. We develop something, we produce something, we do R&D and then export, then yes, every Indian has the right to feel proud about it, but not by just exporting something which somebody has told you to make. So that is what I have to say regarding the country being global export hub. But there is much more to this than the commercial angle.
So, AVM Gaikwad, what do you think is the way forward when we look at dual-use manufacturing? So, I think most manufacturers should be looking at dual use. And while some of it can be converted into a military use, there would be others. My sense is, and I've been speaking to a number of them, I've also been involved with some of the companies, is that the moment you find that there is traction coming in one direction, and usually it comes in the civilian sector, the defense part of it then goes back into the background. The second issue is, I can give you by example, I know of a small company in Gurgaon which makes FPGAs, which are not even made anywhere else. In India, forget about many parts of the world is not available. He's able to export to America, but he's not able to sell in India. So between these two anomalies that we have, that we try to look for dual use. FPGAs can be used in military equipment as well as high compute equipment as well. Where is it that we seem to be missing out? Why are our manufacturers not able to get into dual use and then export abroad? And why are our own people not able to sell within the country and then end up only exporting?
The problem with exports is if we build something which is got applicability globally, the first question that they ask is your country or is your defense force using it? And we get a very sorry figure because our people don't believe us. You agree with me? Every industry comes out with a product. You try to sell it to defense or police or any government organization, they'll ask you for 10 compliances where you will not be. How can a startup have a compliance? Other than the innovation mind that that person or individual has, how will they overnight get compliances? Whereas the same thing is not asked and given on a platter to PSUs. I have nothing against the PSUs, but the competition is extremely unfair. We are closing down MSMEs and startups at the rate at which they are formulating or forming also. We need to look at those very critically. Why the number of MSME startups are closing down so fast? Mind you, I am right now working with National Forensic Science Universities. I'm working with a lot of startups. They are bright minds. They have everything in them, the right spark to come out with the world-class technology. But nobody is holding their hand. People are taking loan from banks. People are taking money from home. After 2-3 years, they are just drying out.
So it's fantastic to see a military man, completely coming out with the problems of the industry. And now that you're sitting in FSU, maybe you'll be able to take forward to government with all the problems that industry faces. Thanks. I'll just, I have an odd question in my mind, but in case there is any question from the audience, you're most welcome to raise your hand, and I'll have the mic moved up to you. So while you decide what question you want to ask, I'm going to throw one last question at Jai Verma. What do you think is the potential of India to become a MRO hub, especially in the South Asian and Southeast Asian, and basically our extended neighborhood and the Middle East as well? And could we extend it to Africa also?
I think there are questions.
There is a question? Okay, please go ahead.
Thank you, sir. I'm Group Captain Sidhu, retired, and now currently working with Botlab Dynamics, those who are involved in manufacturing of the drones, sir. Now, we are receiving a query across the African continent for us to deliver them the drones, which is used for drone light show. It does not have any ordnance carrying capability. It does not have surveillance carrying capability. But to find it getting exported, that itself has become a challenge, while we have developed a indigenous Ati drone, which has a short-range surveillance carrying capability. So seeing that drone light show is not going, the drone which has utilized for drone light show is not going out, and when I make a surveillance drone, how will I export? Sir, if you can throw some light on this, it will help us to export it.
Yeah. I'll request General Verma.
Well, your concern and doubt is, I mean, the question is very relevant, and but having been in this system for now more than a decade, let me tell you, things have improved a lot. From a time when getting an industrial license was virtually, banging your head against the wall, things have. Similarly for export, because in fact I was one of the agency who had to give clearance for export until the time the DGWE or DG Capability Development does not specifically say that this can be exported, it will not be exported. So your question pertains to that there are still bureaucratic hurdles in getting license to export. My answer would be that yes, whatever you're feeling, there is a Society of Indian Defence Manufacturers. There's a lot of interaction between the Department of Defence Production. In fact, on such relevant forum, in fact, I comment sometimes that there are so many shows and seminars happening that I don't know how the people sitting in the offices are actually able to match up to those. So I think those questions you should ask the policymaker who are in the Department of Defence Production, and not only pertaining to when they come here. Today, all the doors of the South Block or the Sena Bhavan are open. You have means of approaching them through, I'm sure you must have done. But if there are genuine concerns, my earnest request would be to route it through the Society of Indian Defence Manufacturers, which has a credible voice in the South Block. They can definitely ease this out. But there are sometimes, sometimes there are, wheels within wheels. Now, which country, because I will not like to discuss in the open forum out here, because certain countries in Africa are limited for some other reasons. So I may not be able to specifically talk about it. If the question was about simplifying the procedures, we can definitely take it on.
Yeah, so just taking it forward from there, there is an effort now which has been, Niti Aayog has conducted a lot of discussions on how to improve the export potential of our defense industry. So there is obviously a lot of effort going into improving the export strategy in this field. Now the problem that you are facing is specific to a particular piece of equipment. I don't want to leave it at this. In case you have any specific area, maybe it's the Home Ministry which is not giving you the clearances, then maybe we can discuss it separately and try to iron out amongst ourselves at least how to take up the case. But sitting here on stage, it may not be possible for a specific case to be, discussed unless we have all the facts with us. Does that make sense? Unless you have something specific to bring out here, you're most welcome to carry on with this question. Do you wish to? Exactly.
So the drone which we have made initially, it does not have any implication in terms of strike or any harmful information which it can extract. That is, we are finding it difficult to export. Leave when I make a drone which is going to have such facilities.
Yeah, so I mean, what you just said sounds extremely logical, and I'm sure nobody will defy that logic. So there must be something more to it that we are not able to come out with as we sit over here, and maybe we can discuss it separately.
This session I especially wanted to attend for this. Thanks, sir. Thank you very much.
We look forward to discussing amongst us. Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions? I think we are running out of time, but I did throw a little bit of a question at you, and maybe over a minute or so you can give us an idea about how MROs would be something that we can take up.
Yeah, sure, Jananand. See, if we have to look at strengthening this potential export, we do need to do two things. One is we have to dive deep into our indigenous technologies, high-tech manufacturing. That is very important. So one is that angle, and which Air Commodore Gaikwad is also alluding to. That till the time we build our technology base, how can we say that we are potential exporters? The second is outreach through global MRO and supply chain resilience. And in MRO, we have two opportunities. One is within our country. The way the MROs are mushrooming, we have the skilled manpower, we have the capital to be infused, we have the infrastructure capability which the government, each state government is putting it up in a fantastic manner. You look at Tamil Nadu, UP, Gujarat. So, lot of avenues for MRO. We have the skill, we have the capability, we have the money, we have the infrastructure. At the same time, we need to build up, I gave you an example of Tata's. If they build a footprint over there, it is very essential that they open up an MRO hub there and look at the entire African continent. It has potential to spread to many more countries. Today it is one platform, it can multiply into second, third variant, and that is the best way. We have the manpower, skill, and the capability.
I think a lot more can go into this, and one major issue that we'll have to look out for in this is that the supply chain that comes for the MROs will have to be very resilient and diversified, so that while we do our MRO, we are not held to ransom by some other agencies and countries. So with that, we'll put a wrap to today's discussion. All that is left for me to say is to thank both Air Commodore Gaikwad and General Verma for their thoughts. And if any of you have any further thoughts to take forward with the panelists, you're most welcome to catch up with us. Thank you very much. Please give them a big hand.
Thank you, gentlemen. And now, let's proceed for the ritual which we have. I would request Major General Dr. Pawan to please felicitate the panelists. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together while the ceremony is going on. And that was the mic drop moment.
Thank you. Mike was at its own modem.
And now I request Lieutenant General Sanjay Verma to please felicitate Major General Dr. Pawan. Thank you, gentlemen, for that strategic blueprint. Now we dive into the mechanics, the policies, the regulations, partnerships that enable or hinder defense trade.